What's up, Empire? This is Joshua Woodward, your podcast host. I'm so excited to be here. This is a kind of a new twist we're taking on things. We're going to talk about wholesale today. I have the guys from Wholesale Formula here, and I'm really excited about this because it's not something I'm super familiar with. I know a lot of you do wholesaling or are excited about wholesaling, but it's not a super big subject for me. I tried it once and I didn't do very good at it. So I'm excited to just kind of learn more about the wholesale formula, more about the whole idea of wholesaling. And so I just enjoy the podcast, guys. It's going to be a good one. So what's up, guys? How are you?
Fantastic, man. How have you been?
Good. Besides Google Hangouts shutting down on me, I have been doing well.
Yeah, it seems to be a bit tough right now, don't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to hear you guys' story. So this is actually the second time we're doing this podcast. It shut down on us the first time. So we're trying it again. And really, guys, I want you guys to take notes. This is going to be an important one for this podcast. Obviously, if you're driving, please don't take notes. But if you guys are, if you guys have the ability to take the notes, they have an amazing story. And it kind of all meshes together, and it's a lot of the same experiences most of us have had, except they have created some amazing systems around wholesaling. So that's my spiel. I want to hear your guys' story, though, so go for it.
Well, I'll give the backstory and then let Dan, because I'll be quite honest, the transition from the RA retail arbitrage to wholesale was really his brainchild, and it's been something that he's really accelerated. But for the backstory, I've known Dan for many years. We used to play a card game together in a local hobby shop, and that was probably 15 years ago, maybe longer now, 20. But anyway, at any rate, I met up with him again in 2010. I think he was working at a local online gaming company that bought and sold the same type of game that we met while playing. And he was doing really well with that company. That company had grown year over year, astronomical, and he was one of the keystones of that growth. And I'd been playing poker for about 7 or 8 years and gotten a little burnout about it. Really wasn't motivated any longer. And I asked him if he would give me a job, put me to work, give me something to do. And
so you went through a rigorous interview process, correct?
Yeah, I think we walked around the building one time, and he said, "Okay, well, come on back tomorrow. We'll get you started." So, and there we were plugging away, and it was a great job. To this day, just amazing opportunity. The people there were great. And then one day, I've been there almost a year. One of the top executives there, the CFO, in fact, came in and resigned. And he had a pretty well-paying job, particularly when you consider the cost of living in this area. It was a great job. And he just quit, and we'd asked him. We were friends, obviously, and he said that he was doing something called FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, and he didn't have, I don't think the term had been coined yet, retail arbitrage, but that's what he was doing. And he showed us how it worked. Our mind couldn't comprehend it. I mean, we could see the thing on his phone telling us that, and I could go to Amazon and see that it was listing for more than that. That doesn't mean it's sales. So we were a bit skeptical, but we should, we're still full-time employed. We said, let's put a little money together. I think it was like $600. And let's try it out. Let's see what happens. So we bought some products based on the tips that he had given us, and the proof of concept was there, and we continued to accelerate it. And about 3 months in, this was around August when we started, by December of 2012, we did a gross revenue of $50,000. Now, granted, we were spending all of our time. Yeah, it was exciting. We were spending all of our moonlighting time, all of our weekend time was sourcing, RAing and stuff. And we got to the point where, we made good money at this job. We really did. But, there was no ceiling on what we could accomplish if we gave our own business a go. So that's when we kind of was like, let's just go for it. In January 2012, I think I've been saying 2012. It's 2011 up until this point. So December 2011, 2012, January is when we quit, turned our notices in, and began full time. And it was RA, just Dan and I, RA the entire 2012, the entire 2013. I think we did 880K, something like that, gross 2012. Wow. Yeah, we were doing some serious traveling, a lot of driving. We're from a rural area, so we had to do a lot of traveling, and we'd fill this van up, bring it back. Everybody that's done this knows the whole routine. But we were doing it to the next level, just literally all our waking hours. So we would did that 2012. 2013 was about there wasn't much growth. It was about 950K, which is still fine, but we're still in job mode. Like our income was dictated by our input. So how much time we put and effort and put into it, that's what we brought back. If we ever stopped or took a vacation, we were still making residual sales, but we weren't adding any more inventory or any more SKUs. Our capital had grown to the point where Dan was like, let's try to invest in something else. Let's give wholesale a try. The margins are going to be a little bit slimmer, but the velocity is going to be high. And in theory, if it works, we're going to be able to source and work from office rather than on the road and away from our families, and work on a volume scale, which and incorporate that model. So we took a little capital that we had in excess and began the journey from wholesale. And that was July 2014. Does that sound right?
Yeah, July 2014. So that little journey, we actually expected it to be I thought the best expectations of it would be that it would kind of supplant our summers of retail sourcing and give us a better summer, but still in quarter one we would be out there hunting the clearance products. And in quarter four, we would be doing nothing but RA. But it grew a lot faster than we expected. I mean, I think the first month, it was the hardest part was actually finding people to sell us products, because we'd experimented and dabbled a little bit in the past with it and gotten beat up pretty bad. Like we would just go, we went to ASD a couple times and didn't really know what we were looking for. And it was, that's not to say, I'm sure people make great money at ASD, but we had no idea what we were doing, and we just, if this product scanned well, we bought it, and we got pretty brutalized, didn't we, a couple times?
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, how many mistakes can you make in Vegas? You're in Vegas, so
right.
That was always nice.
So, but yeah, in 24, whenever we started this in 2014, we went about it a bit differently. Like we wanted to be, my goal was to be buying direct from manufacturer, because I didn't feel like, one, we had the capital to really capitalize on closeouts, and two, I didn't feel like we were familiar enough with closeouts, so I thought that buying more evergreen product would be good for us. So basically all we did in July was look for products. I mean, just look and try to find everything that we could, and I think we ended up with like 2 wholesale products in July. But those products were really good. Our orders were pretty small, but they sold through really well. We obviously under ordered because we had no idea what we were doing. We were just trying to project the best we could, but it really did prove that these products do sell. They sell profitably. Like, we need to do this more. So the next month, that's all we did, pound away. We weren't outsourcing as much as we didn't go out RA sourcing as much as we had in the past. Like, it was literally trying to find products, and it was very hard. But the biggest problem we kept running into was people just, they didn't want to sell us products. Like, we would contact them and it's like, hey, I'd love to place an order with you guys. Your products are awesome. What do I need to do? And they're like, oh, where do you sell your products, man? Amazon? It's like, not selling it to you.
Yeah.
So that was really frustrating, but we worked through it. We kept at it. We found some more products. And the business kept growing, and it was growing. That's the thing, when you get into replenishables, like your income may be at, say, $10,000 the next month, or $10,000 one month, but you keep that really close to that same $10,000 the next month, plus whatever you add to it. So, like, our month over month was growing. By the end of 2014, we did 1.28 million in sales, and 326,000 of that was replenishable wholesale products.
Which, as you can see, based on the numbers I was telling you, we were still doing the same 900K in RA that Dan and I had done the year over year, but add the 300 plus K, which puts you at the 1.28. So we were really at that point just added wholesale on to our RA backbone. But that's where the transition, we realized this was the same proof of concept we had with RA originally. Now it's time to accelerate this, because we wanted off the road. We didn't want to be out, ripping shelves and all this and that. We wanted more time with our families and more time at home. So that's kind of like back to 2015 there.
And at the end of 2014, we made a decision. It was December 1st, actually. Me and Eric were going to hire some employees, or hire one employee. Our goal was to hire one employee, and we were thinking at the time maybe just help us with packing and shipping, and have somebody there in case we went out to do RA to be able to receive shipments. Well, we interviewed a couple people, and it was really awkward because both of them were amazing. Well, we'd only really budgeted for one, but we knew that these guys could add a lot of value to our company. We knew that if they worked out as well as we wanted, then it would help us grow really fast. So we kind of took a gamble, and despite really only having budget for one employee, we went ahead and hired both guys. Now, bear in mind, these guys are completely different. The people were completely different. We had one guy that was more of a pack and ship kind of guy, like he was real hard nosed worker, and then we had one kid that was really good with computers, but didn't really have any sales experience. So in December, all we did was really train our guys. So we kind of dropped off a little bit in December. But what we were doing is really focusing on we cared more about 2015 at that point. And when 2015 rolled around, our January sales were like I think it was 182,000, January 2015. Wow. And our previous year's sales were 60,000.
Oh my!
To give you an idea. And it was kind of a culmination of, we were getting better at finding products. We were getting better at people selling us those products, to get them to sell us those products. And now we had two people doing it. It was, it was me and Matt really full time. Eric was still doing it. But he was working with the logistics side to make it try to function faster, because, as we were buying more product, we needed to be able to process product more quickly. So it was a kind of a combination of a little perfect storm, but we grew month over month there too. And we ended up doing about 393 is what the thing said.
Yeah, our 1099K from Amazon was 3.93 million for 2015.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and we now have 9 full-time employees, not including Dan and I. Our projection, what we would like to, our goal for this year is to do 10 million gross revenue, and so yeah, it's really an exciting time for us, and it's transitioned and grew into something far beyond what we even dreamed of or even thought it may be. So we're really excited.
But the biggest change we ended up getting another building for 2015, and that helped a lot. And then once we understood our systems better and what we needed to accomplish, we were able to start plugging people into the kind of the machine we had built. So right now it feels like we can. I feel like we can just get as big as we actually want to over time. Like I feel like our machine is really, really refined at this point. And in 2015 or 2016, I think our January sales were like 430,000 versus the 180 the previous year. So still on that kind of that same trajectory where Eric mentioned our goal is to hit about 10 million this year.
Goodness gracious, man. And are you guys private labeling at all, or is this all wholesale?
We have how many private label products?
Maybe about 5. We don't have a lot of them. It's enough that we're versed in it, but we're still working out some of the issues and logistics that anybody that has ever done private label come along with it. So fortunately for us, we're in a good position too, where that's not our source of, our revenue or capital isn't really going to be affected by it. So we can focus our time without worrying about incurring any losses. So we're really trying to just learn that. So there's a handful of products, but 99% is wholesale.
And actually, this guy is our private label department. He kind of handles it from beginning to end. The rest of our team doesn't really do much with it. It's pretty much just Eric.
That's so cool. I mean, so many people are focused on private labeling right now, but I love that you guys are doing the numbers that you're doing in wholesale, because again, a lot of people are focused in one area right now, and they're focused on specifically private labeling, but there's so much more to Amazon that you can get into, and I love that you guys are doing it. One of the questions that I had, and one of the things I wanted to ask you guys if you would explain, is what is wholesale? just break it down for our listeners, the people who don't understand it. What is wholesale exactly?
There's quite a few different variations of wholesale. Like, realistically, closeouts are all wholesale too. That's a form of wholesale. There's more general wholesale like distribution. There's manufacturer-based wholesale, which or brand owner wholesale, which is kind of where we're at. There's liquidation wholesale, which we don't really, that's a much harder business for us. And we tried it once, and it was really hard logistically for us. But for wholesale for us is we develop a relationship directly with the manufacturer of a good. Say, with this pen would be made by Pilot. Like if I want to sell packs of these pens, we would contact Pilot and try to set up a direct relationship with them. Mm-hmm. Now, some of them may be harder than others to be able to do that, but that's the general idea behind wholesale is we try to set up direct relationships with with manufacturers.
There's an opportunity here that I think people are forgetting. You guys had your day in retail arbitrage. Not that you aren't doing it still, but everybody kind of skips this process, and I think it's a really important one to touch on. And specifically, the fact that the wholesale world is still alive, and we talk about partnerships all the time. And it's something that I love to champion. It's something that I'm passionate about. Is the idea of partnerships. How have you guys found the response of companies finding out that you sell on Amazon?
Actually, all the companies that we deal with, we just tell them directly that we do sell on Amazon. We don't. We want our relationships to be founded on the idea that that we're partners, more or less. Like we would rather them know we would rather them know and turn us down than not know and accept us as a vendor.
That's really good, because that was one of my problems that I had, just kind of butting up against trying to get into companies. I mean, my problem was I went for guys like Hasbro and some of the bigger companies and just tried to dive straight into that. And I got so discouraged after a week of it. I was like, my patience is done. Like I'm never working with a wholesale company ever again, because there was this moment of discouragement, because I shot for some of the big companies. What would be your advice for people trying to get in to wholesaling? What are some of the things that they need to know?
I mean, I think the thing for wholesaling, like you mentioned Hasbro, I'm pretty sure everybody that's ever RA'd and tried to segue has made that. I mean, we had an account with Hasbro and Mattel that never materialized. We started to focus, and even the when we found our markets that we were good in and stuff, it turned to be smaller markets, more niche products, and even then, you've got to understand that failure with the companies is just going to happen. You can't get discouraged. I mean, our approval rate in the beginning was somewhere around probably 1 in 10, and now it may be up to like 4 out of 10 that we get approved for, something like that. But I mean, it's still, you're getting turned down more often than accepted. But the beauty of wholesale, and like RA, is that when you find a SKU or a product, it rarely loses value. Like it doesn't get oversaturated. It rarely gets oversaturated, rarely goes bad. So like he was saying earlier, like when you invest that $10,000, the next month you're still getting that same $10,000 from that SKU plus any other SKUs that you add, and it's month over month versus, a discontinued item on clearance. You can only find as many are on shelves, or even a seasonal item. Yeah, that's great, but after that season's over, it's done. A wholesale product and cash flow analysis will allow you to month over month know that this SKU is going to bring back this amount, and it's more steady. And so it is discouraging on an individual or a daily or even a weekly basis, but you have to understand and persevere to know that when you do find the manufacturer that is going to deal with you and the profitable SKUs, that they're good for virtually ever. So that's kind of, you got to look past the disappointment of failure and understand that when you do find it, it is so rewarding for a long term that's really the goal there.
So are you guys shipping directly from whatever company you're working with? Are you sending those packages into Amazon FBA from your like the actual producer, or are you having them ship them to your business and then you're labeling them and shipping them out?
That varies by that varies by company. I mean, some companies we have ship direct. Well, most of the time for our initial orders, no matter what, we'll have them shipped directly to us, so we can see first off how they package the product. Secondly, if the product needs a different type of prep than we knew about, see the quality of the product in general. So that's we do have some accounts that ship direct for us. Yeah.
Do you guys work with majority of companies in the States, or are you going overseas? What is? I'm just trying to get an idea of what it looks like to be successful within the wholesale industry. And one of the questions that I had come up and in conversation with a friend of mine was, where do you find the product? Are you going to companies in the United States? Are you going to the headquarters in the United States? Or are you going directly to the source?
The problem with you going directly to the source, that's inherently an issue that a lot of people don't understand. If I go to, let's say I'm buying a Nike shoe and I go to the company in China who makes Nike shoes and buy from them, I'm actually selling counterfeit product because there's a chain of custody. If you want to sell a branded product, you have to be purchasing down from the manufacturer, down from the brand owner. So the chain of custody dictates that you can't go around them to buy the product, even though it would be cheap.
So it's not good to go to Alibaba and find out which person is producing, Canon's cameras, and then that's not a good idea.
I mean, that'd be a good recipe for a lawsuit and getting banned from Amazon.
But I mean, currently we source probably 95% of ours is domestic.
I mean, if not higher,
probably higher than that.
The process of building a relationship with a company is great. I love it. I love the idea of building that relationship. I think where my struggle comes in is the minimum purchase orders. What about the people who don't necessarily have the cash to put up? And I'll ask you, so you can share with the audience, what is a minimum purchase order and how does that interact with the wholesale community?
The minimum purchase order or minimum order quantity is generally a number of units or a dollar value that a wholesaler requires you to order from them. I actually asked this. This is a funny question because I asked Matt yesterday, who deals with the majority of our accounts and setups and stuff like that. What is the actual average minimum order quantity that you encounter? And he was like, well, currently, we don't really look at minimums like we used to. But he said that the average minimum order quantity that he encounters is between $250 and $500. He said it's always almost always that small. He said now our orders tend to be bigger, much bigger than that. But that's because we're trying to, we try to work with them and get discounts or do whatever we can. And we're really we project a lot about what we're going to sell in a month. And we choose high volume products. So that inevitably leads to much larger orders. But he said the average minimum order he sees is $250 to $500.
Which I think is a nod to the niche market, the smaller manufacturers that we do target. Hasbro's minimum order is probably $10K with a guarantee of $150K ordered in a calendar year, or something to that effect. We're not going to be getting Johnson & Johnson contracts or anything like this. It's just, so it's about finding the proper product, and at that point, they're obviously a generally smaller manufacturer, so the minimum orders tend to be lower.
I think the biggest one that we have that has a big minimum order is like 10,000.
Okay, because that was kind of one of my concerns in even pressing into this issue is the idea of I don't have a ton of capital. For a lot of our listeners, it's not one of those things where, they're like, I'm still garage sailing. Like, this may not be a realistic expectation to go into wholesaling. But if you're talking $250, that's not out of reach for a lot of people. What do you feel like is if you were to look somebody in the eye who's wanting to get into this, they've been doing RA for a while and OA. What would you say to them is the most important tool that they could be using for wholesaling?
I mean, hands down for us, it's got to be Jungle Scout. I mean, which is a program that predicts the amount of units are going to get sold based on a sales rank. So, I mean, that particularly for our initial orders, we look at that to try to make sure that we're going to sell through the allotment of product that we're going to try to order. So that's probably, I mean, what do you think?
Whenever we first started with our wholesale, because we set our account up separately. Like we have one account that was just wholesale products, and that was our wholesale experiment initially. And whenever we set it up, we actually didn't use any softwares at all for the first 3 months. But Eric mentioned Jungle Scout, and that's the one tool I think it helps you so much with your initial orders, and that's kind of the hardest part for a lot of people, is understanding how much of this product I'm going to sell, that I would suggest Jungle Scout.
That's really good. Yeah, we use Jungle Scout all the time and absolutely love it. And I'm sure that there's other things out there that can help, but it's good to know that like there's already tools in place, because that's always my concern is I want to make sure that my time equals out. And for the audience, a lot of the listeners, you guys are probably pouring in a ton of hours and not actually factoring that into your end ROI, the return on your investment, because your time is money, and make sure to be factoring that in. And I love that you guys are using Jungle Scout, because it really, it's one of those tools that can end up totally changing your business. What are some of the things that you guys are getting into? It's 2016 at the time of recording this. What are some of the things that you guys are anticipating or getting into for this year?
Well, we've one of the things that happened for us that was pretty awesome towards the end of 2015 was Amazon invited us to the Subscribe and Save pilot program. So we've really been increasing the amount of grocery, basically the amount of consumable items we carry, because that program really helps a lot. It helps with your buy box percentage a little bit, and it gives you an advantage to be able to approach companies, because a lot of sellers can't offer that to them, and it's a great way for them to create long-term relationships with new customers. So that's a really powerful program for us. So 2016 is currently building the amount of impact we can have with that program.
Will you explain that program a little bit? I'm actually not even familiar. I've heard the name, but not familiar with what it is.
Well, Eric, he uses Subscribe and Save a lot as a customer.
Yeah.
So he would even probably give a better description than I would.
Yeah, no, you go to an offering, say for shampoo, anything that you order constantly over and over, and Amazon will give you two prices. One, to Subscribe and Save price, which is generally 5% less than the lowest price. And what you're agreeing to do is renew this product. They'll ship you this product without you ordering it every 2 weeks or every month or whatever you dictate. And so you're subscribed to this product and you save 5%, is obviously where the namesake comes from. So yeah, in fact, for here, we order like energy drinks for the guys and stuff for the warehouse, for the cooler. And it's on Subscribe and Save. It just shows up like the 5th of every month. We get a couple cases of Red Bull and Monster and stuff like that. So yeah, and then when you're able to offer that, he said it increases your buy box percentage. If I'm not mistaken, only one person can be on Subscribe and Save per listing. So you really have 100% buy box percentage if you're the only subscriber. If you're the Subscribe and Save for this product, you're going to always be up there, regardless if you're even the lowest price versus the other ones. Your Subscribe and Save option will be up there.
Right. Like, so if I were selling with you on a product, what he means by that is you could still get the buy box, but my Subscribe and Save offer will always show up. So I get an increased buy box percentage there, and then you actually get a natural smaller increase on the click now buy box. So it's pretty cool
program. Wow, that's so cool. So you guys are talking about grocery. That's a niche that concerns me a little bit if I'm thinking about the shelf life of some of these products. How exactly has that worked for your business? Because it's not an area that I've been interested in getting into, but it sounds like you guys are seeing some success.
It's currently our second largest category.
Wow.
So it's actually fantastic. For us, grocery it's a little more prep intensive, which that may or may not appeal to some people. but that in and of itself leads to slightly less competition than other categories. So you tend to have slightly bigger margins there due to the less amount of competition. But as far as shelf lives, most of the products tend to be longer shelf life. We always ask that question whenever we're talking to before we place our first order. It's like, what are your typical shelf lives for these style products, and that'll help determine how aggressively we order and how if we're going to try to push for bigger discounts with larger orders or something like that. So I mean, yeah, it can certainly be a factor, but you just communicate with them and find out how it's going to affect you.
Man, my brain is expanding on what I can do with wholesaling. I haven't even thought of, I mean, there's so many products that I use every day that ultimately I can be wholesaling. Now, have you guys worked with your local community and local stores to end up wholesaling, or do you guys do drop shipping?
No, we don't do drop shipping, but we do. We have a few local stores that we distribute products to, because it's where it makes sense for us is, a lot of these local stores are placing, brick and mortars are placing like a 6-piece order or something like that, and it's just 6 pieces of this, 6 pieces of this, and they pay honestly the worst price possible. Whereas our order tends to be much larger, and we get discounts and things like that. So if it's we'll generally distribute to them as well if they carry product lines that we buy.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that you guys again are working with your local community and kind of building that out. I think that's something that's really on my heart and has been on my heart for this past year, of like trying to figure out ways to, obviously we're getting income from all over the world, all over different places, and then taking that income and pouring it into my local community. That's something I really love and I really appreciate when companies do that. So I think it's cool that you guys are, not only do you live, obviously you live in the community that you live in, but you're also helping the local retailers and helping out with those prices. Well, if you guys had any, just to end, if you had any tips for or any services or anything that you would tell somebody getting into wholesaling, what would those be?
I mean, for me, my tip is go for it. I waited around too long. Dan tried to get us to hire employees earlier. I mean, I overanalyze things and wait for the right time and stuff. And it doesn't exist. You just do it. You believe in yourself. And you give it a run. What's the worst can happen? I'm not saying take a mortgage out and invest everything you got in wholesale. That's ridiculous. But I mean, challenge yourself. I mean, put yourself out there and just do it. It really is phenomenal, and it's changed. I know my life, and I'm sure I can speak for Dan, his life as well. And speaking to the community too, like the most enjoyable thing for me is going in every day, and these guys out here getting to employ now 8 people or 9 people of our community and hoping to grow that soon. I mean, I'm very proud of that. When anybody asks what I do, I own a business that has 8 employees. That's the first thing I say before I even tell them what I do, because that, to me, it's actually impacting lives, and it's really rewarding.
That's so powerful.
The one suggestion I would give them is, as you get into this, it's very difficult. It's very difficult at first, and a lot of people get turned off by that initially. But if you just stay with it, like, you have to be persistent, and you have to give people a reason to want to work with you. Like, focus on what you can do to help them, and you'll grow faster, and you'll grow farther and faster. So that would be my one thing. And he said it earlier. It's really, honestly, has changed our lives. We used to, I really did. I mean, we used to trade hours for dollars, and we were out of town all the time, and it was fun. I loved hanging out with him, and we definitely made good money. But in the same token, it was hard work. I mean, it was honestly hard work. And whereas now we get to work with our team, and their hours effectively help grow our business. So it's we're not just trading. It's no longer just my time and Eric's time that's getting traded for those dollars. It's the time of the team we're building, and we're able to multiply that. So our company is growing exceptionally fast.
Gosh, guys, that was awesome. I love it. I'm going to go back and listen to this again because I know there's so many things that I'm fully not comprehending yet, but it's going to be good. So I appreciate you being on. Where's the best place that people can find you guys?
We have our company Facebook page, and it's the Wholesale Formula. We have a free Facebook group, the FBA Wholesale Community. And then, our websites, we have Source Sell Profit and the Wholesale Formula that we sometimes put videos and stuff like that on there. So.
Very cool. Well, guys, thank you again for being on. I so appreciate the knowledge that you guys have poured out.
Hey, thanks a ton for letting us be on here, Josh.
It's been a blast, an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, Empire, you guys heard it. I'll make sure to put those links down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I really do appreciate for everybody who's listened to this podcast. Hopefully you got the content that you desired. Please go to these Facebook groups, ask the questions you need, and really start pushing into these ideas and expanding what you're doing already with your business. Well, until next time, Empire, have a fantastic day.